All right, man. All right. So over under the poll so far, Vegas. This is why they make money, folks. Check this.
Yeah.
So it's over. Caesars has it at 57. On thebigspur.com, we got about 114 votes, and it's 54 for the under, 45 for the over. On Twitter, 116 votes, and it's like 50 to 49, 52, 47 now. So it looks like people are thinking under, and we welcome in Ben Moore from Panther Talk. Ben, how are you?
I'm great, fellas. Appreciate you having me on.
All right, so,
Yes,
so right here on Monday, it's the over-under is at 12. What say you?
I'd tell you this much, man. After watching week 0 games and knowing that nobody's tackling full speed in the preseason, I think a lot of the overs are probably the heavy lean there. I'm very, very interested. Obviously, we can talk about this game as well as others, but I don't know about you guys, but I saw a ton of missed tackles in week 0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
a lot of sloppy.
It started with Northwestern, and I thought, well, maybe the travel overseas or whatever, but just looking at a bunch of the games, yeah, it wasn't. I don't know if they're not ready or what, but it kind of reminded me a little bit of 2020, like when nobody played defense, the pandemic year, and so you kind of worry about that a little bit. So, I don't want to see it go back to looking like Big 12 football all across the country. This is not football. Anyway, Ben, game week is here. I know South Carolina fans are extremely excited, probably more so than they normally are, for the start of the season. I know expectations over in Atlanta are high too. So my first question is, can this Georgia State team win the Sun Belt this year? Because I'm looking around, everybody's picking Louisiana. I don't know. They went through a coaching change. It seems to me like this would be a golden opportunity for Shawn Elliott and his group to have. I mean, they've been having good years to have a breakthrough year.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, JC. And ultimately, it comes down to the experience. For the third consecutive season, Georgia State returns 15-plus starters back from the previous year. And that's just incredibly hard to replicate. Guys that have been in situations, even the guy like starting quarterback Darren Granger, he started his career at Furman there in the Palmetto State and faced this Georgia State team program on the road. Also took his Paladin squad to Virginia Tech and played very well and had the Paladins in it. So he's been in big games. This basically will be his 12th start under center. So he has a full, obviously, season under his belt there. But for anybody picking Louisiana, I guess I have some questions. App State's still the standard in the Sun Belt. And they've got a little ball game there at home this week against the University of North Carolina. But I think there will be, they're there. Coastal Carolina lost a lot in terms of playmakers as well. They still return one of the better quarterbacks in the Group of 5 rankings in Grayson McCall. But I agree with you. I mean, Louisiana lost a truckload, including their coaches, including a lot of players. I mean, you see how many of their former players joined Billy Napier at Florida. A couple of them went to LSU, and they've kind of seemed to scatter into the wind. So it may be a little bit tough sledding in the West, and the West is wide open, but the East is just brutal. I mean, you had a quality Marshall program as well. Georgia State faces them at the very end of the season on the road, and then basically faces the newbies, James Madison. So I think it starts certainly moving into Sun Belt play for the Panthers. They'll get to host Coastal Carolina. They've got to go to App State and of course rival Georgia Southern. As we always know, weird stuff happens in rivalry games, no matter what the records are. So it'll be a fun year for the Panthers, but this is probably the first time that this GSU program has had serious expectations to win the conference in its history.
Yeah, definitely not a very old football program, but one that's definitely emerging. Got a chance to watch a little North Carolina in week 0, and you mentioned I don't know who's doing the scheduling for the Heels, but kind of weird, FAMU and then at App State and at Georgia State. How big is that North Carolina game for Georgia State, folks? And we're going to talk about the game this weekend. Obviously, it's big. But to get that one on the schedule, to have North Carolina come in and play at your house, what is that like? I know Georgia State's got some other games like this scheduled in the future, but this is a big one. I think it's a big deal for UNC to come to Atlanta and play.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, and I'll just answer your question for you. So North Carolina, basically, when they scheduled both of these games, they were expecting to get hammered by the NCAA. You know, they had the academic fraud and other scandals, so they didn't think they were going to be very good. They thought scholarship reductions, they thought other things were coming down the pike, and they just didn't happen. So ultimately, these games were on the schedule. They had big buyouts in there for home and homes for both of those teams. And it's one of those scenarios. To answer your other question, it's a tremendous opportunity for Georgia State. You know, I've kind of been perusing some of the North Carolina boards and Facebook groups and things like that. Atlanta is also a big alumni market for the Tar Heels. What has been fun to kind of see some of the interactions between South Carolina fans and North Carolina fans as they faced off last year. It is a very, very different dynamic in the wine and cheese crowd, as it has been described. I've been to Kenan Stadium and been in around the ACC. Growing up an FSU fan and season ticket holder. So know the folks in Chapel Hill pretty well. There are expectations up there as well, and they're disappointed certainly last week as well. So there's part of me that wants the Sun Belt to take a big ACC W. There's the other part of me that wants North Carolina to be 2-0 and come into Atlanta with their fans thinking, hey, we have something here. We have a brand new offense and some offensive line that actually can protect our quarterback. So they did face a severely undermanned FAMU team and didn't look super great for the first 2.5 quarters.
Soft, I thought. I mean, that's the whole word I had was soft for them. And that's unfortunate because that's not only been an issue in North Carolina, that's been an issue for Matt Brown too. So that's I feel bad for them, but they better not play soft Saturday. I'll tell you that right now.
And a noon kick, back noon kick.
State's going to cut them if they're not careful, because that's everything for App State. Everything. All right, the Gamecocks and the Panthers. The line's at 12.5. I think obviously, the matchup to watch is Georgia State's run game against South Carolina's run defense, which was not all that great last year. Your kind of take on the key matchups in this football game and sort of what you expect. How do you expect Georgia State to come in and attack the Gamecocks?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I mean, it's got to be a line of scrimmage game on both sides of the football, and Georgia State's going to want to establish the run. Pretty much the MO from Shawn Elliott's point of view. I mean, he came in his very introductory press conference and says, we will run the football here at Georgia State, and has been true to it, regardless of whoever the offensive coordinator has been. There is a new offensive coordinator calling the plays for the first time this season, and Trent McKnight, who was elevated from the wide receiver room and then has gone up. He's been on the GSU staff with Shawn for 6 years. He also has his former quarterback as an assistant coach as well, and Dan Ellington, who serves as the tight ends coach as well. So talking to him a couple weekends ago at the open practice, talked about wanting to establish a little bit more balance, but the strength of this team is running the football. You've got 4 to 5 offensive linemen back. You've got both running backs back and Jemias Williams and Tucker Gregg. And a dual threat quarterback in Darren Granger, who is very, very slippery. It was his second career FBS start against Auburn, and certainly had a looked okay, obviously running the football and running that offense, missed some throws. And I expect him to basically continue to push. And that's kind of been the emphasis, is just taking what is there. He wants to hit those short and medium, opportunities when they arise, because we know he's going to have, a front seven pressure and honestly blitzing from all 3 levels that he's not going to see in the Sun Belt. Obviously there's much better athletes in the SEC than what he sees in the Sun Belt week in, week out. But I think, he's more than capable of making plays with his arm and his legs. And I think that's a big opportunity for the Panthers offense. On the other side, defensively, this is the old Nate Woody 3-4 scheme, and they're going to attack and twist a little bit smaller front seven. But they're going to try to apply pressure on every single level as well. They're more bend, don't break. They're not going to, allow a whole lot over the top, as you've seen in the last few games, where they really got gashed last year in the UNC game, missing about 6 starters and a couple of them on the defensive side of the ball in the defensive secondary. They just, basically got caught looking at Sam Howell in the backfield, and he honestly ran for over 100-something yards in that game and a couple touchdowns. So that's something that's certainly concerning. You want to get off the field
absolutely.
on 3rd down, and I think that's the key to Saturday.
Shawn Elliott coming in, obviously, I can't imagine he's not emotional about this. He's emotional for every game, though, but I can't imagine that his emotions are not. I think you're going to see some chest bumping and all that before the game, like always, right? And okay, so we know all those angles. We know the Elliott angle. We know Georgia State playing Georgia State this year. I've told folks is a lot like playing a good East Carolina, a good App State. Somebody that's a really good Group of 5 team. I mean, you mentioned Jamias Williams. I think everybody in Columbia was like begging Will Muschamp, and look, there's conflicting stories as to whether or not Jamias wanted to do it, but a lot of people thought he should have been on offense at South Carolina, in that kind of, and so we all know how fast he is. We all know he can make plays, and so we sort of know all that. But bottom line, it's a bottom line game. Do you think Georgia State can come in and win the football game, or do you think it's just maybe one where they give them all they got and take a shot at North Carolina and Charlotte and App State coming up? From your opinion as someone who knows Georgia State better than everybody else, what's your take on the game? Can they come in and pull the upset?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, they can. They're going to need some help, right? They're going to need a C- level game or maybe worse. Folks go back to the Tennessee game in 2019. The very first play from scrimmage for Tennessee was a turnover. It was an interception that bounced basically off the running back's pads right into the Georgia State linebacker. 3 plays later, Georgia State scored. Pop. There you go. Season opener. And here you go. Georgia State's on the board. They continue to – they're a very, very, strong play from ahead team because the running game is so sound that if you do get down there, they're more than happy to bleed the clock out. They will also speed it up on you. And they have very, very veteran tight ends. Probably one of the oldest college football players, I believe, in 7th year senior Aubrey Payne. I went back and forth with him last Saturday and told him we started talking on Twitter back in 2013. I've known the kid a very, very long time. He's married. He started his career at Furman, had a knee injury and came to Georgia State. And he's a guy, for whatever reason, Trey McKnight said he's always open. The guy basically just runs the right routes, knows where guys are. But this is a big opportunity, obviously, for Georgia State, and they know that. You mentioned, obviously, the South Carolina angle as well, and even Jamias. I mean, Jamias ultimately, he's been utilized some in the passing game as well this fall camp, and I think that could be a next step for this offense is really, really getting the ball in his hands in open space and see what he can do. You have, basically him and Tucker Gregg, and I would tell folks to watch out for Tucker Gregg. He's a heavy white guy, white running back. Reminds a little folks of Peyton Hillis back in the day in Arkansas, kind of that hammer, and Jamias is kind of that lightning to his thunder as well. And they're gonna run guys right at you, man. 50 carries at least from the quarterback and running back position. That's going to be the game plan on Saturday for sure.
Gamecocks need to tackle well, right?
Yeah.
Phil, what you think?
Yeah, got to tackle well. Going to have to, and like Ben said, I mean, this line of scrimmage game, up one side and down the other on this one. I mean, there's you can't sleep. This is not a tune-up for South Carolina. This is a real opponent coming in.
Yeah, it's a real thing. And everybody's complaining. They like everybody. Everybody kind of likes to complain anyway. All fan bases are this way. These are my people that complain, so more power to them. But you get this. Oh, Ray Tanner, why did he schedule this game? And I'm like, well, Ray Tanner scheduled this game 8 years ago. Georgia State was like a 2-year-old football program coached by Bill Curry.
Mm-hmm.
It probably did some good things laying the groundwork, but I never thought, I was like, Bill Curry's probably not going to win. Now, I think Shawn Elliott is one of the better coaches in the Sun Belt. I think eventually you guys may not be able to hold on to it. Maybe against the team you play in week 2. There's just a lot of. Yeah. I think as people continue to watch him, he'll get a lot of opportunity. But so people complain about the scheduling, and obviously it was a long time ago. But certainly, this year, and wrapping up a bit more for Panther Talk because we got some breaking recruiting news. This year, would you agree, Ben, that this is probably the best team they've had, and they've had some pretty good teams and finished hot. I forget to tell people this. They went 6-1 down the stretch last year.
Yeah, so definitely the strongest, and from a depth point of view as well. There's not a whole lot of gaping holes on this roster. You have senior level and super seniors. You got 9 super seniors, guys that have taken advantage of that extra COVID year in consecutive seasons. So that has allowed guys to kind of continue to develop. A lot of times too at Group of 5 programs, and specifically within the Sun Belt, you get into that second level in the depth chart, and you're getting really, really young or guys that have maybe never played, and that's the one thing that I think now specifically with Georgia State, in year 13 of the program, year 6 with Shawn Elliott, you have these guys who have played a lot of football. So there shouldn't be anything that should shock them. I've seen, some wild predictions on everyone's side, right? I mean, it's prediction season, it's talking season, as we know. If it's a blowout from South Carolina side of things, I would be surprised, truly. The Panthers and under Shawn Elliott has played teams tough, and they've been in games. You mentioned the spread earlier. For those who follow such things, Georgia State was 9-4 against the spread in 2021, 7-3 in 20. So they are in the mix. Vegas likes them a lot. I'm very interested to see where this line ends up landing when we get around kickoff and see what it looks like. I think it opened up at like 11.5, just depending on the book. So I'm excited. I'm excited to my first trip to Columbia, taking the family, and interested to see all that game day and obviously the new LED lights that were legal, just incredible. Cannot wait to see that. And I know Panther fans are as well too. I mean, that's part of the experience, right? Living in the South, living in Georgia. We see University of Georgia and Georgia Tech. But getting around and traveling to some of these cathedrals all around the Southeast are a great experience for the fan base, and certainly for the players as well.
You guys will have a good time right there. Visiting seats at Williams-Brice aren't shabby. They're lower deck and right there in a corner. If Georgia State brings their marching band, you'll be
they're coming. You'll be
able to hear that song all over the stadium.
Oh, yeah,
I keep telling people they need to move. The damn visiting band is louder than anything in the stadium. Now, South Carolina did get a new sound system over the summer, so maybe that'll change that. All right, Ben, we really appreciate you, man. It's kind of sad because, you're a good guest, and Georgia State's not back on the schedule now, so maybe get a basketball game together or something.
Hey, I'll talk to Jonas Hayes and see if we can't get one on, man. He's a former dog. We've been talking out of conference schedules. The Panthers just released their schedule as well. So, hey, why not? We'd love a trip to Columbia, and he's doing home and homes. They did a home and home at Bruce Pearl and Auburn this year and next year. Yeah. So
Jonas was a great hire too, by the way.
I agree. He's my age, my same class. So we have a lot of familiarity, and he's excited. Glad he was able to keep his brother Jarvis as well. So we have a good time talking to those guys for sure.
Absolutely. All right, Ben, you have a nice day. Enjoy your game week. Enjoy your trip to Columbia, and may the best team win, as we always say. And who knows who that'll be Saturday night? But we appreciate your insight here and you joining us. And then like I said, nobody better that covers Georgia State. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good one. Take care. Hey, see you. Bye.